Welcome. Thank you for joining me in this 6-class program for a beginner's guide to yoga movement. What we are going to be starting out with today is a reclining breath that's going to break down the 4 phases of the breath. The first is the inhalation and the exhalation, which everyone is familiar with. And then we have a pause at the top of the inhalation, and we have a pause at the bottom of the exhalation. And we'll be cultivating that in a reclined position. So we're going to start out with a bolster. Now, if you don't have a bolster available, you can use pillows, you can use cushions from your couch. You could also fold up blankets or roll up old bath towels, things like that. And so what we're going to do is you're all going to take your bolster and you're going to bring that onto the mat right about where your knees are going to be. And we're going to lay ourselves back, and we're just going to allow our legs to just gently come over the bolster. And then we're going to lie ourselves back, and we're going to find a comfortable reclined position. Now, as you lie back, the first thing that you want to be aware of is that you're not experiencing any pain in your body. It's very important to feel balance. So maybe you need a little bit more height underneath your thighs. You might also want more cushion underneath your body. So if you need a blanket or something of that nature, go ahead and give yourself those props. Now from here, we're going to feel the back of the head, the shoulders, the hips, the legs are resting, the heels are gently touching down. If you have a higher cushion, it's okay if the heels float. You just want to make sure that you're not doing anything to the knee joint. When you envision your face, have your face parallel to the ceiling. So my forehead, my nose, my chin, they're all like in this even line facing up. So I don't have my head dropping back, nor do I have my chin jammed into my chest. So if you need to, you can put a little lift under your head. There's variations to work at the hips and things that we'll be dealing with later. But for now, just find a comfortable position. Now take your hands and just gently rest them on your abdomen. One hand is above your belly button and one hand is below the belly button, just so that you can feel the abdominal cavity. And now just simply tune into the movement of your breath and feel the softness of your breath. There's nothing that you need to do to change it at all. And as you allow yourself to soften, notice that as you inhale, you'll feel the belly gently rise up into your hand. And as you exhale, you'll feel your abdominal wall just simply return to neutral. You're just simply watching that movement. And as you're following the breath, notice if you have any patterns of holding in your body. So release your shoulders, let the legs relax. Notice if you have any gripping at your hips, your jawline. Let your tongue rest and be soft in the mouth. And now once you feel this rhythm of your breath, can you add just a little bit more to your inhalation and your exhalation? And then gently slide one of your hands over to your rib cage along the side of the torso. And keep one hand on the abdominal wall. And as you take a deeper breath this time, you'll be inhaling. You'll feel the belly rise up into your hand. And then envision that your rib cage spreads to the sides. So you inhale, diaphragm rises underneath your hand. Rib cage spreads and opens out to the side, inviting more breath, creating more space for the breath to come in. And then as you exhale, your diaphragm releases and your rib cage will start to close and squeeze in, pushing the breath out. A nice, easy breath. We're not overdoing it, but you are consciously adding effort to your inhalation and your exhalation. And again, notice that you're not grabbing at the shoulders or tightening at your jawline or your hips. And now that we've created a more smooth, fuller inhalation and exhalation, what I'd like you to do is bring your attention to when your breath pauses when it's full and when the pause comes after you exhale. So we'll inhale completely. Feel the diaphragm and the rib cage. And just pause at the top and then softly exhale. Adding a little bit more effort to the exhalation. And then you'll pause at the bottom. Inhale, smooth, slow, steady. Diaphragm. And then the ribs if you can. Pause at the top again. And then exhale, slowly send the breath out. Using your diaphragm and your rib cage. Pausing at the bottom of the breath. Do that a few more times on your own. Smooth, steady inhales and exhales. If you start to notice tension creeping up, if you experience any anxiety or discomfort, just simply allow the breath to release and then slowly from the bottom, building it back up. Don't worry about accomplishing anything other than to be present, experiencing your breath, and just add a little bit of effort into the movement until at one point you'll be expanding and contracting, filling and emptying the lungs with large breaths and long pauses. It takes practice. Let's take one more deep inhalation. Pause at the top. And then softly release, exhaling, diaphragm and ribs, all the way down. Empty. Pause. And then here, just release the breath and let it find its own way. So there's nothing you need to do to expand or manipulate in any way. Just simply find the natural flow of your breath. Just notice how you feel, and you're going to softly start to add movement, wiggling your fingers and your toes. Give yourself a little stretch if you'd like. And then we're going to bend our knees in and gently roll off to your side and just catch your head on your arm for a moment. And just listen to the body, noticing all the sensations. Give your body a chance to catch up to the mind. And then we're going to use both of our arms and gently press ourselves up. And we're going to sit on up and just feel how the body is. Just notice the energy. All right, now from our centered breath. So this allows us to arrive. So we always start our practice focusing on breath, centering ourselves, taking a time out, and then from there we move into our physical practice.
And now let's bring ourselves up and we will come into our physical practice of asana. Move our props off. We don't need the blanket at that time. If you have a couple of yoga blocks, you'll put those at the front of your mat. This is where we're going to be working from. And we'll always be coming from the front of the mat, back and forth. So the front of the mat becomes our home base. So now we come to the front of our mat. We're going to be in the Tadasana position, standing mountain, hands to heart center. Take a deep breath. Exhale, release your arms. Inhale, up and over heart center, high prayer. And now let's lift our chest up. We're doing a standing back arch. We're not throwing the pelvis forward, so weight is even in the feet. Then as we exhale, we spread the wings. We come down into our own lap. Now you have your blocks here, and you can use those to step back and get the feet down, dropping your knee, and then taking the other knee back, right? Now we're gonna move the blocks away and your hands are on the floor, knees are right underneath your hips. And now we're just gonna simply sit back and come forward. Sit back and come forward. And you're moving through the shoulders and the hip crease. And we're looking to have the spine nice and straight. So we're not sagging as we come forward and we're not rounding in our back. So envision you have a nice straight spine. So from the crown of the head to your tailbone, you're straight. You have a slight external rotation on your upper arms and you're lifting the chest away from the floor. So your shoulder blades are broad on your back, not squeezing together. Exhale, we rock back. Inhale, forward. Exhale, back. Inhale, forward. Exhale, back. Inhale, forward. Exhale, back. Inhale, forward. And we're just rocking through the shoulder girdle and the hip girdle. Breathe. All right. Now point your toes and just sit back on your heels and put your forehead down. This is a child's pose. Just do the best you can. The head doesn't touch or the butt doesn't touch. Doesn't matter. Then we're going to come on back up. Now keep the toes pointed. Hinge back and forward. Back and forward. Nice long spine. Back and forward. Now this time we're going to turn the toes under. Now you're going to lift your knees up and drop the knees down. Lift your knees up, drop the knees down. And try not to move anything, but just simply engaging the muscles in the front line that pick you up. Now you're going to pick the knees up. Now keep them bent. Hinge at your hips and go back into a nice down dog is what this is called. But we're not going to let the legs straighten out at this point. We're just going to lengthen back. Now drop your knees down. Sit back and come forward. Sit back and come forward. Now pause, pick up your knees, and now keeping the knees bent, hinge back. So you're looking to bring your spine to the space between your thighs. And now from here, see if you can bring the heels towards the floor without letting your spine round. All right, and now from here, we're gonna drop our knees down. And now have your blocks handy, and you're gonna take your right foot forward, and you're gonna lift up away from the lunge. So this would be the lunge coming forward, and we're gonna lift up so we have our hips over our back knee. Now our feet are offset, our toes are pointed straight back and straight forward, and we wanna make sure that we're not grabbing with our feet. So we're gonna go from here, rocking forward and back, and you're using your front leg. So you're using the muscles on the thigh, this is the thigh bone, the top of the thigh or front of the thigh, and then the back of the thigh. So quadriceps, hamstrings. And you notice I'm not dumping at the belly. So I'm moving forward and I'm pressing back. And I want to make sure that my hips stay squared up so the outside of my edge of my front hip drops down. And then I'm gonna pause right here. I'm gonna bring my hands back down, step both of my feet back. I'm gonna move the blocks off. I'm going to rock back and come forward. Rock back and come forward. And then rocking back, I come forward. Now this time, pick up your knees and hinge back. So you're rocking back, but you're hinging through the arms and through the hips. And then we just coax the heels. We don't want the spine to round. So we pick up the heels, bend the knees, push the butt back, go where you came from the hands and knees. Now from here, we're gonna drop our knees down, grab the blocks. Now this time, we're gonna bring our left foot forward. Come up away from that lunge. We're using the front leg. So you can see how my foot is in front of my knee. My hips are over my back knee, and now I use my leg. Bring myself forward, pressing back. I bring myself forward, pressing back, forward, pressing back, forward, pressing back. Okay, then I'm gonna pause right where this feels interesting for me. And then from here, I'm gonna come back down. I can use the blocks or use the floor, and I'm gonna step back to my hands and knees. Same action now. I'm gonna rock back, and I'm gonna come forward. I'm gonna rock back, and I'm gonna come forward. Rocking back and forward. Now this time, I lift my knees, and I press back into the downward facing dog. I introduce the legs last, and you see how I do not let my spine round. Soft eyes, deep breath. Now I'm gonna drop my knees down, use the blocks, and I'm going to bring my right foot forward again, coming on up. Now this time I'm gonna add a little extra movement here for the fun of it. So I'm gonna pull myself forward, and I'm gonna pause right where I find that action. And I'm gonna stay there this time. Now if you'd like to, you can bring the palms together and just lift them up. Now when you lift them up, lift up the back of the rib cage, and you're not dumping, and then the chest moves to the sky. So this is the same as that standing back arch that we began with. And then as we exhale, I'm gonna come back down. I'm gonna take my knees back, and now I'm just gonna bring my opposite foot forward. I'm gonna lift up away from that lunge. Now moving the front leg brings me forward, brings me back. Now I'm softly gonna move forward, pause. Now if I'd like to, I bring my hands together and I lift up. Now notice how I'm not dumping at the belly. I'm lifting the chest up. I'm putting this back bend way up underneath my chest. This is a variation of crescent moon. I'm not grabbing with my feet. And then as I exhale, I'm gonna move the blocks off this time, bring my hands to the floor, or you can keep the blocks there. I'm gonna rock back and forward, lift my knees, and I'm gonna rock back into the downward facing dog. Now from the downward facing dog, I'm gonna walk my feet forward, and I'm just gonna stay into this forward fold. And notice, how do I feel in comparison to the first forward fold that I did? Just simply hanging down, the back of my neck is long, soften your eyes, deepen your breath. And now from here, I'm gonna bring my hands to my hips. I'm gonna bend my knees a little bit, and I wanna be in a half forward fold. So my torso is parallel to the floor. My knees are slightly bent. And now with my inhale, I'm gonna take my arms, and I'm gonna continue coming up, and I'm gonna pull my hips down, putting the weight into my heels as I lift my chest up. I bring my palms together in front of my torso. I lift my chest, I arch back, and I'm keeping the weight even in my feet. And then with my exhale, I release, and I'm gonna come back to where I began. All right, so nice fluid movements. Those are the beginning components to start working with our vinyasa. So now for here, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna sit ourselves down, and we're gonna come into a lying spinal twist. So I'm gonna lie onto my back. I have my head, my shoulders, my hips are on the floor, and my knees are bent. Now I'm gonna take my right leg, and I'm just gonna simply bring it up and softly put my hands onto the knee. So I'm not squeezing it in. I'm just picking it up. There's my hands. And then if it's not a problem, just see if you can straighten out through your left leg. Now we're gonna do a little spinal twist here, and we're gonna use our hips. So if I keep my right shoulder on the floor, so you see I'm just dropping my arm out to the side, I want my shoulder down, and I'm gonna lift my hip up, and I'm gonna bring it back. So I just have my hand here, okay, lifting and back. And I don't want my shoulder to come off the floor, all right? So there'll be a point, as an example, I can take my leg all the way off to the side, but right here, I'm not even touching the ground. So I'm past where the twist is actually working with my range of motion. So I'm gonna lift my hip,
work with my belly. So you see my hand is just here to keep my knee right where I want it. My lower leg is soft. And I'm going to lift up and I'm going to pause right about here where I can feel my shoulder wants to lift. So that's where I'm going to stop. I'm just going to let the weight of the leg go to the side. My hip is being lifted by my waistline. So envision your belly button is moving to the right to pick up your right hip. Soften your eyes and deepen your breath. All the way in, all the way out. And then I'm going to gently bring the knee back up. Now, take your knee and squeeze it into your chest and just feel the flattening of the lower back down. Now you're past working with the legs and you're starting to come up into the spine. This just feels really nice. And then we're going to gently release and bring both feet back down onto the floor. We're going to find neutral. Then pick up your left leg and just hold it there. And if you can, you stretch out to your right leg. And I'm just to have my arms long. I'm not doing anything really aggressive. And my right hand is going to stay on the knee. And then I'm just going to take my left arm and I'm going to stretch it out to the side. Now, same action. I'm going to lift up my left hip using my waistline. So I'm turning my hips with the midsection. And I'm only going to go far as I can, being determined by whether my shoulder lifts off the floor or not. And I'm not forcing or pressing. I'm just not going to go any farther than the ability for my shoulders to stay down. So right about here is where I start to feel my shoulder want to lift. So I linger right in this spot. Using my waistline, I'm turning my belly button now to the left as my hips start to weight to the right. So I'm not pulling, I'm not pressing. My leg is just being held in place by my hand. Soften your eyes, deepen your breath. All the way in, all the way out. All the way in, all the way out. And then very softly rise up using the waistline. And I'm going to take my knee, I'm going to squeeze it into my chest. And again, this just feels really good, stretching the line in the lower back up into the hip. And then release and bring the bottoms of your feet on the floor. We just find neutral. And then bring your knees in and we're going to rise up. And we're going to do a position which is called the cobbler. Now with the cobbler, the bottoms of your feet come together. So I'm going to take my blanket that I put off to the side and I'm going to bring it underneath my hips. And the bottoms of my feet are going to come together. If you feel that your knees are really high up and your spine is rounded, then you would take something like blocks or roll up a blanket and you can support the knees so that the spine stays sitting nice and tall. The bottoms of the feet are together and it's the outside edge of the foot that you want to have contact. So if the big toes aren't touching, that's okay. Eventually though, you'll be able to manipulate the feet however you want. Let me show you this from the side. So now I'm sitting on the bolster or the roll of the blanket, whatever you have. It allows me to have a little tip in my pelvis. What you're looking to have is not this roundness in the spine of trying to get somewhere, but this nice long, tall torso. If you have a little bit of a lift under the knees, a little bit lift under the hips, the spine stays nice and tall. Now from here, I can softly lean in, but when I lean in, it's at the groin lines that I'm leaning in. So you see, I'm not really using my arms. They can be next to me. They could be on my knees. They can be on my feet, but I'm not using my arms. So if I actually bring my arms in front of me, I sit up tall, and now I'm going to move forward, envisioning my pubic bone is moving towards the floor, and my belly button is trying to get towards my big toes. You see there's this uniform movement, and my head really isn't dropping off. I can use my hands on the floor. I could use my hands on my feet or on my knees, but I don't press. I'm not trying to make the legs go anywhere. So eventually you might be able to sit with the feet together, the knees extended out, just leaning in. Props make things attainable, and that's what we're looking to do. Can you do this pose in a way that you're feeling comfortable, your range of motion is good? So we lean in, soften your eyes, deepen your breath.
Doesn't matter how far you get. Eventually, maybe you're able to come all the way down, but you see the uniform curve that I have. I'm not pressing my legs out. I'm working with externally rotating my thighs and bringing my pubic bone towards the floor. Soften your eyes, deepen your breath. Take your time. Then we lift ourselves up, lengthening out through the crown of the head. Now we're going to gently bring our knees together and straighten out through the legs. Loosen for a moment. And now we're going to come into another position, which is going to work with the full rotation of the head of the thigh bones. So we'll stay again in the cobbler position, and this is how we will begin the next movement. Now from the cobbler position, what we're going to do is simply pick up our right knee, and then we're going to slowly draw a circle around until the knee drops right in line with the hip, and my leg is just relaxed on the floor. This is going to internally rotate and externally rotate your thigh bone. Then I'm going to pick up the right heel and I'm going to drag it back around and bring it to the front. Then I'm going to pick up my left knee, take that circle around to the left, drop my knee, and then pick up the knee and bring the heel around, dragging it. We'll do that one more time, drawing the circle around. And you see how I'm shifting? That's fine. Doesn't matter. I don't have to stay sitting up tall. You can even use your hands. Then pick up, slide the leg around back to the center, and use the hands, slide around and back to the center when you're ready. See? So the heel stays on the floor. You're putting the hip into a full range motion. Now, if you see me from the side, I can also pick up the foot and not drag it. So if I'd like to, I can pick up my foot, internally rotate, bring it around, sit the hip down, then pick up, bring it around, back to center, pick the knee up, bring it around, back to center, pick it up, bring it around, and back to center. You can also not have anything underneath your hips, so you can move the cushion out, pick up, come around, and pick up, back to center. Pick up, come around, pick up, and back to center. One more set. So we pick up, come around. Now if you like to, you can sit up taller and actually add just a little bit of a twist away from the leg. Pick up, come back to center, internally rotate, bring the knee down, and then we twist, come back to center, pick up, and bring the leg back down. Then sit up nice and tall. Now feel the cobbler again. So do you have more space than you did? What do you notice the reflection in the body of the exercise that we did? Leaning in softly, just simply following your breath. Add a gentle movement of the inhales and the exhales, coming deeper. So you have the pelvis moving forward and the thigh bones rotating outward. Then from here, we're simply going to lift ourselves up, bring our knees together, and we're going to come into a squatting position. Now, with a squatting position, maybe you have to roll yourself up, come around like this, and come back. Now, if you take a block and put that block second height or first height and sit yourself onto that block. I don't care how you get there, right? Now, your feet are nice and wide. And what you're going to be doing is you want the heels on the floor, but we're leaning forward. So you see how I'm letting the edge of that block kind of tip? But you want to be very aware that you don't do anything precarious that will make yourself fall or injure yourself. Be smart. So you're leaning in. Now, if you want to work with a squat, you need to get the heels down on the floor. It's not a squat when the heels are floating, not in the full sense of the posture. Maybe you can go a little bit lower, right? And there you are, just simply being in this nice wide position, working on getting down. This is extremely good for your lower back. I'm going to show you from the front. So you can see how wide my feet are. And I'm trying to work this so where I'm externally rotating, at the heads of my thigh bones. So maybe your feet turn out a little bit. The knees follow what the feet are doing because the feet are following what the hips are doing. So hips rotate, knees move, feet are all in the same direction. And we're just trying to get forward into the movement. Now, of course, if you're able to and you can squat without the block, then you're just simply gonna come down. You could use your hands next to you. You could use the blocks like little, like stilts, right? And this allows you to maybe help a little bit to get down there. Soften your eyes, deepen your breath. If you have knee issues, be really careful. It's good to work with someone watching you, seeing you as you practice.
Bring the feet back to the cobbler position when you're ready. And then just see what you got. Did you get a little bit more space? Are you able to move? Didn't overdo it? And then we just breathe. So this is cobbler posture with a little bit of an internal and external rotation. Breathe. And now very gently, you're gonna come up and we're gonna bring our knees together. And now we're gonna cross the ankles and you're gonna come forward and you're gonna bring your hands back onto the front of your mat. And I just switch sides with my mat, doesn't really matter as long as you're on the end. And you're gonna turn your toes under and you're gonna be back into a tabletop position. And then we're gonna do a little bit of rocking again. So we're gonna rock back and forward, point your toes, sit back and come forward. And you're working through your shoulders and through your groin lines. So these two movements, the ability to bring your arms overhead easily and the ability to flex at your hips, are very important actions that you want to start to cultivate if you're looking to do a smooth asana practice of yoga. And that's the physical postures, all right? And then you're gonna come onto your hands and knees and we're gonna pause. Now you can have your toes pointed or turned under. And we're gonna do some cat stretches. We're just gonna mobilize our spine here. And so we're gonna softly start to just drop our tailbone under and then take the tailbone back. Drop the tailbone under and take the tailbone back. And only move below your navel, all right? So if we start to move everything up and down, we're actually not staying in this lower part right at the sacral plane. So what we're doing is pelvic tilting and flexion. Pelvic tilting and flexion. So it's flexion and extension of the spine, right? So I pull my pubic bone towards my navel and that's gonna drop my tailbone. Then if I take my hips towards the wall behind me, that's gonna take my tailbone back and I'm actually shifting the top of my sacrum. So we drop and we lift. Drop and lift. Keep the rest of your spine nice and quiet. And we breathe. Soft, soft eyes, deep, 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 deep breath. Now we're gonna slowly move up our spine, one vertebra at a time. So then from there, you're gonna start to move up towards the navel center, working more of the spine, pausing, and then going back the other way. So we start out slowly, 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 pause, and then go back the other way. Yeah. And then the next time you're gonna come up a little bit higher. So we have 24 active vertebrae. Wouldn't that be cool if you could move every single one independently? Go back the other way. And notice when you want to get ahead. And I find that I always have a section of my spine somewhere that wants to move as a unit. Until eventually you're going to be all the way up, and then the head will drop. And envision you put your forehead on your pubic bone. Excuse me. And then go the other way. cut that hunk out. I took cold medicine, but my sinuses are still drained.
Somewhere about here, right? That's where I was.
I think I was.
Right there, yeah. Maybe it's your movement that's making me cough. All right. And then slowly, one vertebra at a time, you just take it back. So what we start to do sometimes with cat stretches, if some of you have done them before, is we just start fraying. And we want to move very slowly, counting each vertebra. Very nice. And then the last movement that you do, then sit back into the child's pose, sitting back onto the heels, lengthening out through the crown of your head. Soften your eyes and deepen your breath. Easy movements. Soften your eyes, deepen your breath, release your jawline. Give your tongue lots of space. And then gently come back up onto your hands and knees. We're going to turn our toes under. We're just going to lift the knees just a fraction of an inch off the floor. And then once again, we're going to hinge back into our downward facing dog. Soften your eyes, deepen your breath. And again, it does not matter if your heels are touching. Breathe. Coaxing without letting the spine go. And then from here, we're going to look between our hands and let's just take one knee and then the other to where our hands are. And we're going to sit on down. And then we're going to come onto our back and we're going to be working with a block and a strap. So you have one block and one strap. And we're going to use the block between our thighs, and you can go with the second height or you can go with the skinniest width, right? And so it really depends upon the length of your legs, the muscularness of your frame. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to take that block and we're going to put it between the legs. And then you're going to take your strap. And, I mean, if you don't have a strap, if you just have a tie or anything like that, just tie it in a bow so it stays tight. Otherwise, you'll put your cinch strap so that you can secure it. And you don't want it so tight that you're, leaving a mark in your legs. But in the same instance, you don't want to have to hold that block in place. And so I'm going to have the strap around the legs, have the block between the thighs, and I don't have to hold it. Everything is just great. And then you're going to lay back. And now when you lay back, you're going to have your feet about hip width apart or even wider. I like to have a nice wide space. And then my feet are just going to be close enough that my fingertips brush them. So you can see how it's just an easy, soft movement. If I can't reach my heels, that doesn't matter, all right? You're just going to do the best you can. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to let everything soften. And you'll notice the back of your head's on the floor, your shoulders, your hips. And now notice too, we first started class lying on our back. How do you feel? Is there a difference between how you feel now versus how you felt when you began your session? Now notice that you're not flattening your back or arching your back. So if we come back to those little cat tilts we did with the cat stretches for the spine, we're going to do that same thing here. So envision pulling your pubic bone towards your navel. And this is going to flatten your back down onto the floor. And then gently release, come back to neutral. And then envision that you're going to sit the back edge of your sits bones down onto the floor. And when you do that, your lower back is going to arch. So again, we're working with just the sacral plane, and we're doing what's called pelvic tilts, right? So we
take the pubic bone towards the navel, and then take the sits bones towards the floor. Pubic bone towards the navel, sits bones towards the floor. And the sits bones are those bones that sit on a bench that, you know, give you bench butt when you're watching baseball games and things like that. So those are the bones that you're thinking about tipping towards the floor. Now when you do this, slow way down so that you don't feel like your head is dragging and you're bobbing. You're just doing this simple movement from the navel down, which might feel really super small. Now pause right here. And now when you're ready, what we're going to do is staying in the neutral position. We're not going to pull the pubic bone towards the navel. So we're not going to be tucking our tailbone, right? So we're going to envision that the sits bones that we were pressing down, they're going to stay heavy. And when we lift up, we're not using our arms. So let's just bend our arms and bring them by our sides. Our palms face each other. We're simply going to pick up our belly button towards the ceiling, keeping our hips heavy as we rise up. And then very softly, you're just going to let the hips drop down. So when you come down, your lower back is in neutral. So we're using our butt cheeks, but we're not squeezing them. We're using the glutes to actually pick our hips up towards the sky, picking our belly button up towards the sky. And then we drop back down. Now the next time you come up, pick up the belly and then take your chest towards your chin. And then release and just let the hips drop. Keep the chest open. Pick the belly up towards the ceiling, chest towards your chin. You're not using your arms. This is your spine that's picking you up. And then very gently drop back down. Inhale, lift up, pause, and then softly come back down. Now this time, if you're able, we're going to stay up there. So you're going to pick up the belly, pick up the chest. Your arms aren't doing anything, but they're going to stay by your sides. Chest is towards the chin, belly towards the ceiling. You're not grabbing with your feet. Each breath, ebbing and flowing. Bridging. Notice that you don't have to do anything because the strap and the block are holding you up. And then softly lead, letting the hips drop down. You have a soft lower back as you come down, so you're neutral. And then just simply release and let yourself soften. And we'll do that again when you're ready. Gently lift your hips. Pick up the chest towards the chin. You don't have to hold this posture. Breathe in and out. Take your time. Rising and dropping. So we're looking at having a nice fluid action between the shoulder girdle and the pelvic girdle. So the back bend is the movement of our spine. All of the effort in this posture is coming out of the back line. So the muscles along the spine, that looks really nice at your chest. Feel good? Yes. Breathe. Soften your eyes, deepen your breath. So now when you drop down, keep this neutral, hips drop. There we go. And then we lift here. And then lift here. Okay, and then drop your hips just an inch. Keep lifting here. Drop your sits bones down. And pick them back up. Drop them. So you can see how that's your glutes. And then when you're ready, you're going to gently release and come on down, and we just simply find neutral. And then you can take that strap off, take the block off, and just allow yourself to soften here for just a moment. Breathing in and out, all the way to the bottom, all the way to the top. Soften your eyes, deepen your breath. And now from here, what we're gonna do is you're gonna pick up your right knee and you're just gonna gently bring it in towards your chest and interlace your fingers and just put them onto the leg. And then you're gonna softly stretch out through your left leg. And now as you do this, you're gonna feel a lightness in your lower back. So you're not actually flattening your back. You're not pulling the knee in. You're just gonna hold yourself in this position. Then from here, we're gonna take our right arm and you're just gonna bring it out at an angle onto the floor overhead. Hold your knee with your left hand and then just very softly, you're going to pick up your right hip and you're just gonna start to twist to the left. And keep your right shoulder down on the floor. So only go as far as the ability of your spine to twist shows up. Be aware of trying to grab for deep stretches or movements. It's much nicer just to stay in your range of motion and then let gravity help you. And then gently rock back, and you're not really using your legs, you're using your waistline. So then you're gonna gently roll off to the side again, pausing. Draw the leg back up. Roll off to the side, pausing. And you're not forcing the right shoulder down. You're just not going any farther than the shoulder staying on the floor. And then pause right where you have. Easy twist. Envision that the belly is doing the movement, turning you. Each breath, ebbing and flowing. And then very gently, we're going to draw the leg back up. And you're going to bring the knee in towards your chest now. And you're going to give it a really nice squeeze. And feel how your lower back flattens down into the floor. Each breath, ebbing and flowing in and out, in and out. Breathe. And then gently release and bring both of your feet back down onto the floor. You're going to find neutral here. And now pick up your left knee and just hold the knee in your hands so you're not pulling it in. And then you'll take your right leg and you're going to stretch it back out onto the floor, lengthening out through your spine. And now take your left arm, bring it out by the side, hold the knee with your right hand, and then very softly, you're just going to pick up your left hip. Use your abdominal wall to gently bring the legs off to the right. Keep the left shoulder onto the ground. So when you find that spot where that shoulder starts to feel light, don't go any farther. Gently draw the leg back up, and you're using the abdominal wall. So when you roll side to side softly like this, it's not the legs that are grabbing. And then you'll come back to the side again, twisting, pausing right where it feels good. Left shoulder stays down. We're not forcing anything to happen. Your breath is easy. Inhaling and exhaling. Notice any tightness that you have in your face, jawline, your tongue. Each breath all the way in and out. In and out with your breath. And then very gently, we're going to come on back up. And now take your knee and bring it into your chest. Give yourself a nice little squeeze. And now you'll feel how your back flattens into the floor. Each breath, ebbing and flowing in and out. All the way to the bottom, all the way to the top. And then let's release and bring the bottoms of the feet onto the floor. We're just going to find neutral here. Notice the lightness in your back, the weight of your head and the shoulders. Now again, feel, how do you feel? What's happening? What are you noticing with the body? And now we're gonna take the knees and we're gonna bring both knees up towards our armpits. So you're just gonna loosely grab your knees, all right? And now from here, we're going to bring our feet so that they point to the ceiling. And imagine the ceiling was gonna come down and rest right on the bottoms of your feet. If you can, you're gonna reach up for the outside of the feet or the inside. If you can, it'll be the outside. And what you're gonna do is try to bring the knees towards the floor, outside of your torso. Try to keep your head down. It's called dead bug. If your head floats, or if you have issues with your neck, you can see how I put a nice little lift under Keith's head, and now he can relax his neck. And so if you're in tension in the front line of the body, it's really hard to be able to find an easiness. Now you'll notice when you start to bring your knees down, your hips will lift up. So if you get a little cray-cray, your butt will come up, right? And this is bringing you towards a different posture. So we're just gonna stay, the knees don't need to touch the floor. And now see, can you rock gently side to side? You're holding the feet. Now, if you're not fortunate enough to find your feet, that's a lot of us, you can grab your ankles, or maybe you can just bring your hands behind your thighs and just hang on. So maybe the movement's just here, that's it. But what you're looking to do is have your feet point up so they're not down here, right? Feet are pointing up and the knees are trying to come to the floor. And this is really nice stretch in the lower back, works into the groin lines. Now keep in mind, don't do these positions if you feel pain. Back away. All right, and then from there, we're just gonna pause and bring the knees together. Give yourself a little squeeze again, and then you can either roll up or you'll rock out. And we're gonna come on back up and we're gonna sit. All right, now we're going to feel the movement of the spine again and notice if did anything change. So if you can, you'll cross your legs and you're gonna come forward again, bringing the hands onto the mat. You're gonna be on all fours. You can have your toes pointed or turned under. I like to start out pointed. And then I'm just gonna sit back and I'm gonna move from my shoulders to my hips and notice, is anything different from when you first started your practice? Do you feel a little looser? Maybe you feel more fatigue. Maybe there's more tightness. There's no right or wrong answer. It's about being mindful, being aware of the shifts and the changes that have taken place in your body. Then from here, we're gonna pause in a 4-point position, tabletop. Turn your toes under if they weren't. Press into the hands, lift the chest away from the floor. Slight external rotation at your upper arms. Then pick up your knees, and you're gonna press back, arms come overhead, shoulder blades lift, and we take our butt way up and back behind us, and then coax the heels towards the floor without changing your spine. Notice, how does the down dog feel? Soften your eyes, deepen your breath. Breathe. All right, and now from here, again, you're gonna take your knees and you're gonna bring to the space between your hands or towards your hands, and we're gonna sit on down. Now we're gonna do a position which is going to be a assisted fish posture, right? So what we're gonna do is you'll use the bolster that you had to begin with. Now there's a couple of options here. So if you have issues with your neck, or you're really super tight in the upper back, or maybe you might be kyphotic, which looks like this, you know, where you have a rounded upper back, which by the way, yoga helps you with, right? Then you can take the bolster the long way, and I like to do something like this. So I take a block and I bring it underneath the top edge of the bolster, and then I bring another, I bring the bolster on top of it. So you see how it's giving me a little slope there. Then what you're gonna do is you'll lay back like this, and this will be the position of your spine no matter what you're doing with your legs, okay? The next position, for those of you who wanna go farther, is you're gonna take the bolster and you're gonna put it like a T across, right? You're gonna have your blocks, if you choose to. You can also get a third block, things like that. And put one of your blocks on either side. Then what you're gonna do is you're going to either keep your knees bent like this, Your legs will be straight, or I'm going to do something that is called a supine cobbler. I'm going to bring the bottoms of my feet together, and I'm going to bring the blocks underneath my knees, right? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay back so that the top of my shoulders are off the edge of this bolster. And I'm going to come around and make sure everybody's in the proper position. And then what you're going to do is you'll lay back like that. Now my head touches. If my head doesn't touch, it's hanging. We don't want it to hang, not in this position. So I'm going to use this little block I was using under my butt, and I'm going to bring that underneath my head. Oh, and voila, look at that. That would keep me from hanging, and there I am. So now we adjust. This is a supine cobbler with a supported back bend. And this is how I look, or this is how I look. Or maybe, that's too much, and I have my legs like this. Or maybe you decide, oh, you like that, kind of a spread eagle position. Now, whichever posture you're working with, the first thing that you want to pay attention to is that you are able to breathe. So if your breathing is edited, or if you feel very uncomfortable and you're like, just can't wait to get out of this pose, don't wait. Get out of this pose, because it's not your posture. And then take the palms and turn them up and let the arms just relax. And the elbows, we want them to be on the floor. Soften your eyes, deepen your breath. And then now let your toes relax. Yeah, there you go. Notice any tension that you might be feeling. Release your jawline, let your tongue soften. Give yourself lots of permission, lots of space. All the way to the bottom, all the way to the top. Now feel your jawline. Notice your tongue. And let everything be soft. And your eyes are gazing towards your cheekbones. So that will more than likely have you gently gazing off the cheeks towards the ceiling. Notice any gripping that you have in your body, and let that go as you follow your breath gently in and out. In and out. This position that you're in is very good for bringing energy into the body when you feel lethargic. It's also a wonderful posture for releasing heat. So if it's hot summertime type atmosphere, or maybe you're menopausal and you have hot flashes, this is a really nice posture to put yourself in to relieve the heat. Your main arteries, the femoral artery, the brachial artery, the carotid artery, they're all exposed in this position. The belly is exposed and open, so it releases a lot of heat from your body. Fall is coming around, and this is a really nice posture to help those of us who might experience seasonal effect. So if you get yourself in this position, get some nice bright sunlight coming into you, or you can use artificial light that's full spectrum. It's a really nice way to deal with those physiological changes as the seasons shift. Each breath gently ebbing and flowing, in and out, in and out. Now from here, let's gently come out. So to come out, if your head's dropped back, it's really advised that you bring your hands underneath the back of your head. Use your arms to bring the head up so the chin comes in towards the chest. You could also just roll off to your side. So if you're not able to come up this way, you're doing a little bit more work in your abdominal wall, all right? Then you can pick up the legs, roll off, and then use the arms to press up. Then from here, we always take the time and we come forward. Soften your eyes.
Tuck your chin. So you want to reverse the curve of the spine. So for many of us, laying back like that feels amazing, but it's not a position your body's used to. So it's always nice to come out, give yourself this counter movement, and come into neutral. Breathe into your sides. Release and relax your jawline. And then when you're ready, we're gently going to release and come up. And now from here, we're going to end with our legs up the wall. You could also put your legs up on a chair. You could put your legs on your couch, anything like that. You could lay on a bed and put your legs up the headboard, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to bring my yoga mat over to the wall, and I want to put the bolster, I'm going to put a little lift underneath my hips, right? So I'm going to sit myself as close to the wall as I comfortably can. I'm going to drop my shoulders down, and then I'm going to bring one leg up and then the other, and I have about that much space between me and the wall, right? Then I'm going to take this bolster, I bend my knees, I'm going to use my legs to pick up my butt, and I'm going to put that bolster underneath my hips, and then I'm going to let my sacrum be on that cushion and have my legs up. Now my arms are resting along the sides. I don't want my arms up like this, because what it's going to do is pull my trapezius, which are the muscles up in here. It's going to elevate my shoulder blades, and it's going to cause a lot of tension into the back of my neck. So I want my arms just along the sides of my torso, palms face up. Now for those of you who have something, you could put a cloth over your eyes, turn your lights off, whatever is right, so that you're going to release and reduce the input into the eyes. Feel the shoulders, the hips, the legs as they release up the wall. Each breath coming and going. Nothing you need to do. Simply be here now. Be aware of any tension that you're carrying. Just let that tension go. Feel the weight of your heels, the weight of the hips dropping down into the cushion. Now keep in mind, if this doesn't feel right, like if it gives you discomfort, you do not need to have anything underneath your hips. You could have the legs on the back of, or on the seat of a couch or chair. Maybe just lay flat if this doesn't work for you. However, getting the legs up and reversing the blood flow, bringing the blood from the feet, cascading into the sensory organs of the head is very, very good for you. Do the best you can. And the idea is to be able to relax. So if you're unable to relax, the position isn't useful because it's not softening your nervous system. It would be agitating your nervous system. Now tune into the movement of your breath. Notice the diaphragm, that gentle ebb and flow. And see if you can come back to the very beginning where we were working with the diaphragm, the ribs, we were expanding and then releasing, going all the way to the bottom. We identified the 4 parts of the breath, the top of the breath, the pause, the bottom of the exhalation, the pause. And just see if you can organize and find those 4 parts. Let your arms rest and hang like empty sleeves. Notice any tension. Allow that tension to disappear. Just let it go.
mind drifts away. It's just the nature of your mind to follow sensation. As soon as you notice you've drifted away, come back. Pick up your breath. Scan your body. In and out. Nothing you need to do but simply be here, be with your body, be with your breath. And then from here, we're going to begin to deepen our breath, add gentle movement. Bend your knees in, and we're going to pick the butt up and take that cushion out, and then take the hips back down. You're going to softly roll off to your side, and just gently catch your head on your arm. Take a moment, allow the body to tell you what's needed. And then let's use both of our arms, and we're going to pick ourselves up, and we'll come up to a seated position. Now, you can sit up on that cushion that you had. I'm just going to sit up on that cushion I was sitting on, or you could fold up your blanket or anything else that you might have. And we're going to end with a really simple chant in the practice, and it's Om, and then Om Shanti, 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 and then we say Namaste. Om is the universal vibration. It's the sound that's in everything. The word Shanti, S-H-A-N-T-I, means a universal peace. So we're saying Om, peace, peace, peace. And then Namaste means I see that in you which shines in me. So we're recognizing each other's divinity deeper than just our ego and what we present out into the world. All right? So we're going to bring the hands together in what's called Namaskar. And this is just a real simple position. It's also called prayer position. And we'll take a deep breath in. Exhale. And then we'll take a deep breath in to chant. And it sounds like this. Take another breath. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me. This is the end of our lesson number 1, and I'll see you again for lesson number 2. Have fun practicing. Bye for now.